Hey, have you seen this yet?
This new WarGreymon. It can warp, when Digivolve, raid, it can attack, when attacking security +1, piercing. What else can this guy not do? Alright, Digi-Egg cards still would traditionally like to play the 4 copies of the BT5 Greymon just because it gives you draw 1 when attacking. Still the best egg for most Greymon decks because we're always trying to attack our opponent. This is an Unga Bunga type of style of deck, so they can always draw 1 very, very consistently. And for those of you who want to learn more about the BT14 Greymon egg, don't worry, I'm going to talk about it more later in the tech choices section. Alright, now getting into our rookies, 4 copies of the brand new BT14 Agumon right here. This card is just basically a better version of the promo Agumon which we had access to from before, simply because it has a starter main phase effect letting us Digivolve into Greymon for free as long as we have a tie command. Now keep in mind it has to be Greymon specifically, not Greymon name in its text, so it can't be Greymon X antibody, so really important. Otherwise, it always gives your Greymon and Omnimon inheritable extra 2000 DP. It can Digivolve for 0 on top of any color Koromon as well at the same time, so this is definitely the new best Agumon that you want to be seeing 4 copies of, especially when you're trying to build your stack and turbo into it. I'm super excited to let you guys know that the AVAULT store is now live, and this would not be even happening if it weren't for you guys. Thank you all for the support. We got a bunch of awesome stuff for all of you. Plus, everything is 15% off for the grand opening sale, so be sure to check it out. As we continue with Agumons, 4 copies of the BT12-1, just again really great because it's black and red. It can help you search your top 4, grab double pieces, grab a tie, grab a Greymon, grab an Omnimon if you will, and with its inheritable, it's all turns extra 1k as long as it's Greymon or Omnimon as well. It's still also one of the best Agumon. If not, I think it's probably the actual best one overall. And then to sum it up for the rest of the Agumons and the rookies, 4 copies of Agumon X Antibody, still really crucial to help you Digivolve multiple times. It can help you search, cycle, find a lot of pieces that you can grab, especially when it comes to X Antibody combos, which you do in this deck. But not only that, stacking multiple levels becomes really important, especially when it comes to our protection related stuff, which we'll get to see later on, as well as we talk about our Greymons. Just in case you didn't know, I posted the first draft of this deck list on the AVAULT Club membership already. So if you guys want to see early first draft deck list made by me and updated versions moving forward, definitely be sure to join, and I really appreciate the support. And make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell and give this video a like because I really appreciate it, and thank you guys so much. So speaking of Greymons, we're gonna move into our level 4s. That's basically all we play. I'm going back to the good old classic with the starter deck 1 Greymon, security +1. This card is reprinted in RB1, which is fantastic because then you guys can get access to it. Everyone can have access to it as well. And security +1 simple and inheritable is just super strong, really good for this deck to help you do multiple damage, swing for multiple checks, so you can close games very quickly, which is what this deck is all about. Then for the other Greymon, I like to play 2 copies of the EX1, just so you can play out ties for free potentially, which is really good with this when attacking, as long as the tie is a 3 cost or less, and it's also once per turn. But you know, even being able to play a tie once per turn like that for free is really great value. Then moving on to the other Greymons, we're going to talk about the X antibody related stuff. Still, again, a really powerful Greymon with its inheritable because it gives you the all turns protection from bottom decking, returning to hand, and deletion effects. As long as you're able to strip 2 sources every time, that is the same level. So really important. You always want to ideally Digivolve this on top of a regular Greymon so you can stack those multiple levels like I talked about, especially with the Agu X as well when you're building your stack. So then you can have extra protection on top of it. Then of course, still 1 copy of the restricted down to 1 Greymon X from BT11, just still the super strong one because it helps you turbo Digivolve into your level 5s. Reduction cost is just very great. And of course, synergizing with some of the metal Greymons, we can potentially Digivolve into level 5 for 1 cost. And of course, with his inheritable is the X antibody variant. As long as you have X antibody underneath your Digimon, you can always bottom deck it to give it that all turns protection, just like the Greymon X, which you guys saw earlier from BT9 as well. Moving into our level 5s, let's talk about the brand new stuff right here. So I am testing this brand new Metal Greymon Ace here, which is really interesting. It's kind of nice and kind of clutch sometimes because you can hand trap and blast Digivolve against your opponent. And then once you do, you delete something with 6000 DP or less. And of course, when you're blast Digivolving during that counter period, it's always for free. So you can always catch your opponents off guard if they don't respect it. And it's just kind of nice. And you can always sit there with a level 4, any Greymon in name for that as well, can Digivolve it right into it. Now, it does have the Ace Overflow -3, so if it ever gets removed in the battle area in any way, you do have to lose 3 memory. Otherwise, it does have a 4 play hard cost, which is kind of decent if you're kind of bricking a little bit and you can hard play this early in the stage of the game and sort of has stick on board. And if you can sort of climb your stack that way too. So kind of neat one, but I wouldn't run more than 2 at all in this deck either. As we move into the other Metal Greymons, again, still the BT12 one is one of the best ones in my opinion, just because it gives you that raid potential, the piercing with its inheritable, and then when you do switch attack targets, you can play your ties potentially, and this one lets you even play cost out of 4 or less. You don't even have to play ties, it's either a red or black tamer too. Arguably, if you guys prefer, you can definitely play more copies of this and lesser of the Ace one, totally up to you. So here when it comes to the ratios. As we move along, Altruist mode is still really good, even just as a one-off tech. Sometimes for a pure WarGreymon deck, playing 2 is also really nice because once again, it gives you that inheritable just like the Greymon X from BT9, so you can protect yourself from bottom decking, returning to hand, and deletion effects. But not only that, you can Digivolve on top of Metal Greymon, you can build multiple Metal Greymons on top of each other, so to build a even stronger stack and delete stuff with 5000 DP or less. And when you Digivolve it, as long as you have a Tamer as well. Then to round off for all the level 5s, 3 copies of the Metal Greymon X. Again, I'm focusing a lot on DP and aggression in this particular build, which is why 3 copies of this is really good. Being able to get security +1 means extra damage for your stack. Digivolving for 0 on the top of Metal Greymon is the most ideal way to do it. Otherwise, you can also Digivolve on top of regular Greymon, but making sure you have X antibody underneath as a source so you can gain the extra 3000 DP and whenever you do so. And having that 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn makes it very difficult for them to overcome your stack, so then you can actually go for big one-shot combos the turn afterwards to take them out, which is really, really strong. That's it for level 5s. Let's talk about level 6s. Of course, here we have the brand new WarGreymon from BT14. Now for 4 costs, it does a lot of things. It can also alternatively Digivolve on top of level 5 Greymon and name for the cost of 4. Now first foremost with its effect is allows you to warp Digivolve if you have a Tamer with Taikimi in its name, and if your opponent has 1000 DP or more Digimon on their board, your Agumon can warp for 4 costs. Now after you Digivolve, when Digivolving, it gains raid for the turn. Then it may attack, so technically kind of like a blitz, which I'm kind of curious why they didn't give the keyword blitz to it, but you're basically allowed to kind of attack right afterwards. And when attacking, if you have a Tamer, this Digimon gains security +1 and piercing for the turn as well, basically gaining a ton of all the effects that all the Greymon has when we accumulate from building the stack, all in one package is really, really nice and comes in clutch really, really cool. Sometimes when we pull off this crazy combo, it's just basically just game ending, which is really, really strong and really, really powerful. But some of you guys might only feel like it's just a one-off tech. So for now, I'm playtesting again, 2 copies working out very nicely for me. So change the ratios up to you, because as we continue with our level 6s, we still like to play 2 copies of the older WarGreymon. Here, BT12 one is just really strong because you can Digivolve for 3 on top of any Greymon's name, has the raid, has reboot, extra 3000 DP, and can potentially unsuspend when you switch targets as well. Arguably, I might even play more of this, maybe bump it up to 3, just because of how great it really is. Again, with you build into this stack, you almost basically secure your game win condition. And then of course, there's 2 copies of WarGreymon X from BT9, just a really good card to generally sort of Digivolve on top of a regular WarGreymon for 1 cost. You can pop things, you can gain memory when you swing checks, you can go for really big crazy combos with it and delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to it at the end of attack, which is nice. Again, kind of like a more situational clutch card to have, therefore you might even want to just play 1 copy of this instead and play more of the BT12 one. Totally up to you guys as well, again, when it comes to level 6 ratios. Then last but not least, for the level 7s, 2 copies of Omnimon right here. We just want to blitz for game. Once we've done all the checks, and it's still our turn, we can simply just go into this guy and finish it off against our opponents to give us the extra swing, extra attack to close games, which is really, really important. And it also has the protection effect that's similar to the Greymon X inheritables. When an opponent's effect would delete this Digimon, return it to hand or deck, you can trash a level 6 card underneath Digimon's digital sources to prevent it from leaving play, which is really, really good again, which you usually don't really need it because again, you're trying to close games once you get into it. But anyways, now let's get into our Tamers. So first and foremost, we got 2 copies of the brand new BT14 tie. What this card does with 3 costs is at the start of main phase, one of your Digimon with Vaccinus traits gain extra 2000 DP for the turn. Now with its secondary effect is at your turn, when a card is removed from your opponent's security stack by suspending this Tamer, you get to gain a memory back. Arguably, this is not as great and not as amazing as a tie that we got, but I find it very useful in many applications when I've sort of built my stack and I'm not utilizing any Digivolving effects anymore. Being able to swing into my opponent's security with my big stack and still be able to gain memory consistently afterwards is kind of nice. And having the extra 2000 DP is going to help a lot when you go for the big warping combo as well with your secret rare WarGreymon, which I'll talk about more in the combo segment later on. Okay, moving to the other ties, we got 2 copies of the older BT12 one. Again, arguably one of the better ones because it gives you start of main phase or on play, extra 1000 DP to your Agumon or Greymon in its name, and blocker until the end of the opponent's turn, which is really neat. Having that extra DP stay longer makes it even powerful. And also your turn when you would Digivolve into a Greymon, Omnimon, you suspend this Tamer, you get to gain your memory back, which really helps with turbo Digivolving when you really need to. But like I kind of explained earlier, I kind of sometimes like the BT14 one just because once you establish your stack, you don't really need this tie anymore as much to help you build your stack. But it does still give you that blocker capability, which you do want a bit of defense. So again, juggle the ratios based on what you personally prefer when it comes to this tie. And then last but not least, for all the ties and tamers, still 2 copies of the BT1 one, because it's your memory tamer, extra security +1, again, doing lots of damage, so then you want to swing over your opponent and basically take out their security as quickly as possible. Then for option cards, very simple, 4 copies of offensive training, just a really strong staple of this format, really strong card. You want to see it as often as possible, helps you search, gives you a lot of value when you're sort of building and Digivolving into your stack, but totally up to you guys. You guys can even play like 2 red memory boosts and 2 offense training to juggle up a little bit if you want to switch it up, just because gaining memory is also really nice. But again, for the effective 2 cost, it helps you find your pieces so quickly, and you know, just a really important staple to have in most decks essentially. Last but not least, 2 copies of X Antibody right here to round off, because we do some X Antibody plays. It's nice to have. We don't always need to rely on it, but it's just great so that we can sort of Digivolve and sort of compensate for some of the missing effects when we're not building the most optimal stack. Therefore, that's why you play at least 2 or even a 3 of, up to you guys. Tech choices and all the other cards I considered when I was playtesting this deck. First and foremost, you guys want to talk about this Coromon specifically. It's actually quite decent as an egg, but again, I prefer the BT5 one because this one specifically requires you to remove a security stack from your opponent to draw 1 card. Now, ideally, when you're removing a security stack against your opponent with this Greymon particular deck, you're always attacking into them anyways, so might as well utilize the attacking to draw more effectively and efficiently rather than using this one. But you know, who knows, maybe in the future this can come in handy when there's more cards that sort of like trash your opponent's security in the WarGreymon decks and such, can definitely be helpful too. But for now, I'm not running that egg because of that reason. Then of course you can definitely play the other Greymon right here, which can help you play a tie for free if you don't have one, which is always fantastic, and also giving you all turns extra 1000 DP. And yeah, definitely a nice consideration. And then there's also the BT5 one, which is still really good because it can potentially kind of virtually Digivolve for 1 cost on top of Agumon because you gain 1 memory back. And also your turn getting extra 2000 DP really helps you go over some big numbers that you really need to swing over Digimon. So again, a very good one. Moving into some other level 5s, another one is the Metal Greymon right here. You guys know that how I mentioned I really love security +1 effects. If you want to build even stronger, this is the Metal Greymon to go for as well, to gain even more security +1, and you can go for really big bang one-shot combos, which is absolutely crazy sometimes, which I actually might be considering adding this in and swapping a bunch of them out too. Then for another level 6, you guys can play this good old BT1 WarGreymon, which is a really good counter against sort of decks that have a lot of security bombs or even security control, because it gains security +1 and it always has that your turn effect that no security effects for option cards can activate. So really good clutch card, and it also just costs 3 to Digivolve, which is very memory efficient for this deck too. Then if you guys want to go for more Ace and Blast Ace hand trap combos, this one's also really good with WarGreymon Ace because you can Blast Digivolve, you can surprise block if you ever have a level 5 on the board. You get to unsuspend this guy when the security is removed as well, so you can go for defensive and aggressive applications, but it does have that Ace overflow -4, so keep that in mind. So really up to you guys as well if you want to play more hand traps and play defensively and give surprises to your opponent, which is really nice. Since this is a WarGreymon deck, of course it's always nice to sometimes tech in like a Black WarGreymon package if you ever want to. Black WarGreymon is great for removing, you know, tamers, dealing with control, you know, unsuspending as well, kind of like the Raid WarGreymon, which is always really neat, but I kind of want to keep this as pure as possible, which is why I don't play the Black WarGreymon. But again, very good for tribal. Then for another level 7, instead of 2 Omnimon Blitzes, you guys can play a package of 1 Omnimon and 1 Omnimon X Antibody, just so you can go for that really cool, fun final combo, trash security, look at your opponent's security, control a little bit more. But overall, again, this deck is just trying to go Unga Bunga, strong checks, and then you just go for game. So again, that's another good consideration if you want to go for a bit of control. Last but not least, Cool Boy is still a really good card. Just for 2 costs, you can search yourself. Really good cards for X antibody related Digimon, X antibody option as well, suspend, gain a memory, draw 1. And overall, because we're playtesting a lot of different ties in this deck, which is why there's not a lot of room to work with, but still, again, a very, very good card, which I definitely highly recommend you guys putting it in as well, if you like. Alright, combos. Since after all, this is a WarGreymon stack building deck, it's just really ideal that you want to see your rookies, your level 3s, 4s, 5s as you go through and all the way to your 6s to sort of climb through and build the most ultimate strongest stack that you absolutely can to sort of like go for your big game plan. Once you build your stack, you sort of go ahead and continue and just like basically let it do all the work, take out your opponent's security, take out their Digimon all at the same time. Really, really cool. So other pieces you really important want to see in the early stages of the game: offensive training, that's what you want to see in your mulligan, searching pieces, Agumons that can hard play and search, which is always really neat, and of course access to all your 3 different kind of ties. Depending on whichever you see, you don't really get to see all of them in the entire game, but they all give you different value at different stages. Really, really neat all the time. And if your opponent ever, starts first and they put you to 3 memory, I always really like to make sure that I have another Agumon at the back. Ideally, for most optimal play, I can hatch the egg, Digivolve into this one particularly, because this one is just always great, giving that inheritable and start main phase effect. But you can hard play this for 3, cycle through, grab your pieces, Digivolve into this, and then cycle through again, draw more pieces. Really, really great value just from these 2 cards essentially, which you want to see as often as possible. Again, find your pieces. Sometimes you might just want to continue to build your stack outside if you can, if you end up just going ahead and sort of digivolving. Right now, because thanks to this brand new Blast Ace, or sort of Ace Blast Digivolve counter for its Metal Greymon, you can comfortably sometimes reliably sit as a level 4 in the battle area early enough, depending on the matchup that you're up against. If your opponent can't remove this in any way, then it's always nice because they might go for a cheeky swing at you, and once you do, you can just simply blast Digivolve for free right here and basically delete their Digimon with 6 or less, and you basically play nothing for that, which is really, really neat. And you can continue to build your stack outside just like this, continuing and Digivolve into your Metal Greymon X, and ideally into your WarGreymon. Either WarGreymon is great, that's what you want to see. Ideally, I like to see the BT14 one just because it costs 3 to Digivolve and you can gain a whole lot of effects with its raid, reboot, extra 3000 DP, and the unsuspending, so you can always raid, swing over it, and do all that crazy stuff. Otherwise, you swing at your opponent's security even. Otherwise, this one is just as good too. As long as you have a tie, you're always gaining a lot of value because it also has raid, kind of like Blitz as well, letting you attack, and then security +1 and piercing itself too. So a lot of damage when it comes to sort of building all of this. And that's really how the typical combo works. Otherwise, inside the raising, whenever you come out, let's just say you start your memory at 3. You come out, Agumon, Digivolve into Greymon for free because you have a tie, whichever tie you have, and then you can Digivolve X, suspend this to gain the memory back. You're basically paying nothing this entire time. Use your training, go into the classic one right here just for 1, Digivolve into this, and then Digivolve into this as well. Really, really crazy stuff. Raid, swing, piercing, multiple checks, security +1, security +2, security +3, multiple checks, and then swing again if they have any more stuff for you to raid. As long as they have one thing for you to raid, it's pretty much GG combo, because you raid, swing, unsuspend, pierce for basically 1, 2, 3, 4 checks, swing at security again, and you simply just finish with Blitz Omni, just like that, which is absolutely insane. Kind of like an OTK right there, which is super powerful. If you have this one instead, that's totally fine too. You Digivolve for 4 a little bit. You might pay 1 extra memory, which is okay, because then when you swing with it, again, security +1, piercing, raid, exactly the same thing. Once you check your opponent's security, suspend this one, gain a memory back. Also getting an extra 2000 DP at the start of the main phase is really, really good. Another combo you can kind of play around with is with the X antibody. If you have X antibody underneath, you swing, and then you can even Digivolve for 1 into this. It does gain that piercing, and it also gains the security +1. So if you swing over your opponent's Digimon, pierce, multiple checks, again, 1 check, 2 check, 3 check, 4 check, 5 checks, gaining 5 memory back, Blitz Omni for game once again, finishing the opponent off just like that, which is absolutely insane. Now, this is when I like to talk about having these 2 ties particularly. This is great for digivolving and building your stack because then you gain a lot of memory right there. But sometimes once I realized when I was sitting here, this tie doesn't seem to be as great as it is. Giving blocker is really, really neat. But then unless you're building your second stack outside, you're not really utilizing this effect anymore. Therefore, sometimes having this one is kind of neat because as long as you're always swinging at your opponent's security, this will always give you a memory back in the long run once you sort of go for the big stack game just like that. So this is why I really, really like it. But anyways, let's quickly then showcase the warping combo. You do want to have a Agumon. It can be really ideally be any Agumon you have. You know, just make sure it's Agumon specifically. It cannot be Agumon in its name. So Agumon X antibody can't count. So really important, sometimes when you're building, you don't want to build a secondary stack. You might just want to sit there with an Agumon and wait. Your opponent answers your first stack is gone. And once your opponent has a big body on the board, you're ready to push up right here. Do not use it to digivolve into Greymon because you're going to use this brand new one, starting your turn at 3, digivolving for 4, right into it. Starter main, giving it extra 2k. If you have this one, then great. If you have this one, just as great as well, because either one of them are going to help you gain 1 memory back. Because if you digivolve into this one, you gain a memory back, retaining your turn. If you digivolve into this one, having this one, you raid, and you are still allowed to resolve your attack before your turn ends. So you raid into opponent's Digimon, taking it out, security +1. You don't gain 1 here, unfortunately, but it'll be just for 2 checks as well. And then once you think the 2 checks, spend this to gain a memory back. And then of course, draw for Koromon, gain extra 2k here. Your WarGreymon essentially itself with this couple cards of combo, you're at 16k, swing over pretty much almost anything in the game. And then you can also again, do multiple checks, finish it off with Blitz Omni, again, just like that. So really, really simple, new warp combos, new tools to work with this WarGreymon deck, which is super fun, really cool, and really excited to showcase you guys what it actually does. So if you guys haven't done so yet, be sure to check out the gameplay video right here, right now to see this deck in action. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing